35,000 BC, the kingdom of Sumner arose in the Fertile Crescent. Soon after, in 3100 BC, the Egyptian kingdom came to power southwest of Sumner. By 18,000 BC, Sumner fell and the large empire of Babylon replaced it.
In 1029 BC, the Zhou dynasty came to power in China. Around 800 BC, the Greek city-states began to develop and Olmec culture spread through the Americas. Around 670 BC, Assyria rose to power, replacing Babylon as the empire on the Fertile Crescent. At 550 BC, Persia rose to power, replacing Assyria. On 509 BC, the Roman Republic was created in modern-day Italy. Around 500 BC, Buddhism was created. From 338 to 323 BC, Alexander the Great conquered Persia. 323 BC, the Mauryan Empire rose to power in India. At 258 BC, the Zhou Empire fell. By 232 BC, the Mauryan Empire was in steep decline. In 221 BC, the Qin Empire rose in China. In 202 BC, with the death of Shi Hongdi, the Qin Empire fell and the Han Dynasty replaced it.
In 49 BC, Julius Caesar made the Roman Republic into an empire. Around 30 AD, Christianity rose and began to spread slowly. At 202 AD, the Han Empire fell. Around 220 AD, the Mauryan Empire fell. Around 310 AD, the Gupta Empire rose in India. At 476 AD, the Roman Empire fell, creating the Byzantine Empire. About 535 AD, the Gupta Empire fell. At 613 AD, Islam rose and spread rapidly. At 618 AD, the Tang Empire arose. In 661 AD, the Umayyad Caliphate began. Around 668 AD, Korea gained its independence.
At 750 AD, the Abbasid Caliphate began replacing the Umayyads. About 885 AD, the Russian kingdom in Kiev began. In 907 AD, the Tang Dynasty fell. At 939 AD, the Vietnamese gained their independence. Around 960 AD, the Song Dynasty rose in China. Around 980 AD, Russia became Christian. On 1096 AD, the First Crusade happened, bringing a revival of technology to Europe. In 1127 AD, the Song Dynasty fell. Around 1180 AD, Japan was using the feudal system. About 1206 AD, the Mongol Empire begins. In 1237 AD, Russia falls to the Mongols. At 1258 AD, the Abbasid Empire fell. By 1279 AD, the Mongols controlled China. In 1281 AD, the Ottoman Empire began.
Around 1235 AD, the Aztecs rose to power. Around 1350 AD, the Incas rose to power while Europe contracted the Black Plague. Around 1360 AD, the Timurid Empire rose, the last great nomadic empire. In 1368 AD, the Ming Dynasty began in China. Around 1405 AD, the Timurid Empire fell with the death of Tamerlane. On 1453 AD, the Byzantine Empire fell to the Ottomans. Around 1480 AD, Russia gains its independence. In 1481 AD, Europeans begin to explore Africa. In 1492 AD, Columbus discovers the Americas. Around 1502, the Safavid Empire began. By 1524 AD, the Spanish took control of Mexico. In 1526 AD, the Mughal Empire rose in India. By 1596 AD, Japan was unified.
On 1644 AD, the Ming Empire fell and the Qing Empire rose to replace it. By 1722 AD, the Safavid Empire fell. On 1756 AD, the 7 Years' War began between Great Britain and France. By 1764 AD, the British began to conquer India. On 1783 AD, the US gains its independence. On 1789 AD, Napoleon rose to power. By 1792 AD, Haiti gains its independence. In 1815 AD, Napoleon fell from power. By 1825 AD, most of Latin America gains its independence. In 1833 AD, Great Britain abolishes slavery.
In 1850 AD, the Taiping Revolution begins. In 1861 AD, the American Revolution begins. By 1865 AD, the U.S. ended the Civil War, abolished slavery, and Russia freed the serfs. In 1911 AD, the Russo-Japanese War began. In 1914 AD, World War I began in Europe. By 1970 AD, the Bolshevik Revolution happened, emplacing the first major socialist regime. By 1980 AD, World War I ended. On 1931 AD, Japan invaded China. In 1939 AD, World War II began. By 1946 AD, World War II ended. In 1948 AD, Israel was created as a nation. In 1949 AD, NATO was created. In 1950 AD, the Korean War began. By 1953 AD, the Korean War ended. In 1955 AD, the Warsaw Pact was created. In 1959 AD, the Cuban Revolution began.
In 1965 AD, the Vietnam War began. By 1793 AD, the Vietnam War ended. On 1975 AD, South Vietnam fell to North Vietnam. By 1979, the Iranian Revolution happened. In 1980 AD, the Iran-Iraq War began. By 1985 AD, the Iran-Iraq War ended. On 1990 AD, the First Gulf War begins, and in 1991 AD, the First Gulf War ends. In 2001 AD, the War on Terror begins with destruction of the Twin Towers. On 2003 AD, the U.S. is at war with Iraq.